cave. Okay, and this cave was known 300 years before Christ. Yes, as a place where local people and mainly pagans, people, they came to put their sacrifices. Why? Because that cave was filled with water, and then they were spotting what happened with their sacrifices, and they believed, even back then, 300 years before Jesus, they believed that if they saw a spot of blood in the water, their sacrifice was denied. And if there was no blood in the water, their common belief was that it was accepted. And the question is, denied or accepted by whom? They are pagans. So by whom? It's hard to imagine that 300 years before the time of Jesus, people have looked towards this cave, as if this is the gate of Hades. The gate of hell. So, the God that was taken or denied was the God of hell. No wonder why the Greeks, successors of Alexander the Great, established a shrine in front of the cave, and they dedicated this shrine to one of the gods in the Greek mythology called Pan. The Pan is, like the pan flute. Okay. It was a god that had a half body as a goat and half body as a human being. It's the Greek mythology. And they named the place Paneas, but when the Arabs came many years later, they had the problem to pronounce the letter P. Arabs cannot go with P, so what comes out from their mouth is B. So it's known as Banias. Paneas became Banias. When Herod controlled this land, he built another shrine up there that he dedicated to Augustus, the god of Rome. And when Herod died, what happened to the land that he controls? The land was divided into three of his sons. Jerusalem and Judea went to the hands of a guy by the name Archelaus. The Lower Galilee and the Sea of Galilee to the hands of Herod Antipa. The Golan Heights to the hands of Philip, another son of Herod the Great. So what did Philip do? Yesterday I was talking about Capernaum being a border town between the province of Philip and the province of Herod Antipa. So what did Philip do here? He did this and this and this and this and this and this. So what are these and this and this and this and this and this and this? More temples, more shrines. Not only Pan and Augustus, now Jupiter and Aphrodite and Asclepius and this, so many shrines here. And he named the place Caesarea of Philip. Caesarea, welcome to Caesarea Philippi. Caesarea of Philip. Now you know why it got the name. Caesarea Philippi. Because he built this. Wow. What was this place known for?
Pagan worship.
More than this. I will say, when I'm looking to all these shrines, I will say, welcome to a supermarket of gods. Right. Yes? A place where people could come and change the god of the week, as if they load the gold on their cart going in a supermarket, And each week, because when they saw that no good came in their life, they could go to the other god, and to the other god, and to the other one. This was Caesarea Philippi, those days. Supermarket of gods. They here all day. God, you know this. I don't need to tell you this. Please.
Matthew 16. It says, I guess I should put that on.
Yes, please.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Matthew 16. And they entered into the region of Caesarea Philippi. That's very important. And that's very key that we understand that. They entered into the region of Caesarea Philippi. Jesus asked, "Who do men say that I am?" Some say you're Elijah, and some say you're one of the prophets. They answered. So he said, "But who do you say that I am?" And Peter said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Well, blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. He had a revelation, he had an understanding of who Jesus is. And then Jesus spoke these words. He said, "And I say to you that you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." Now it's real important that we stand here because that one statement developed a doctrine that really worked through the Middle Ages. Because you see, in the Roman Empire there was a massive vacuum of power after 410 AD, after Alaric and the Visigoths sacked Rome, after 476 AD, when you saw the last Roman emperor in the western part of what we call Western culture. When you saw that take place, there was a massive vacuum of power. And that's where you see the beginning of the Pope. That's where you really see the beginning of what would turn out to be big players and people who would control the church. And until the beginning of John Wycliffe and the beginning of the Morning Star of the Reformation, we didn't see a turnaround in that. And there was an understanding that Peter was the rock that he was talking about. No, he said, Peter, you are Peter, but upon this rock I will build my church. Now when you stand here and I look at this place and I look at this rock, and I understand that this is where he's going to build the church, you have to understand what was going on here. This is wild, pagan, crazy worship that's going on here. These are wild, pagan people. And Jesus is making the statement, upon this rock, I will build my church. I'm going to tell you something. This is so close to my heart. Standing right here, being right here and thinking about this. Because somebody loved me enough, a pagan, to ask me to come to church with them when I was 20 years old. I want you to understand now, I'm a PK. I'm a psychologist kid. My mother's a psychologist and my stepfather's a clinical psychiatrist. We did not grow up in my house with anyone on a Sunday morning saying, "Hey, let's go to church." That was not taking place when I woke up in the morning. My dad was an alcoholic, and when I was 20 years old, I remember becoming an alcoholic myself. And I remember going to wild clubs and having wild parties and being a part of that. And the idea that Jesus could take somebody like me and friends of mine and build his church off of people like us just blows my mind. The idea that there's people who are in our communities that are drunk in the bar right now, that Jesus Christ says, I'll take them and I'll build my church off of them. I'll take pagans and I'll take the wildest people that you can possibly imagine, and I will use them to build my church. And the gates of hell will not prevail against it. They will not be able to stop that kind of church. He's not saying a religious organization that's based on a person. He's saying a church that's taking people who are living wild, crazy lives, who are transformed by Jesus Christ.
My God.
Because somebody was willing to walk up to me and say, "Hey, would you like to come to church on Sunday?" That's literally it. It wasn't like I experienced some miracle in the marketplace. Somebody just came up and said, "Hey, would you like to go to church with me on Sunday morning?" And that's why August 21st, 1994, with me living a wild, pagan, drunken lifestyle, I walked up to a church one Sunday and I looked up at the cross and I realized that Jesus Christ, revelation hit me right there. Jesus Christ died on that cross to set me free from my sins.
Bless your name.
That morning I heard Larry Lee preach a sermon in a banana-colored suit with about 5,000 people at Heritage Christian Center in Denver, Colorado. And I remember everybody flooding the altars and going up there. There were so many people on the altars, they literally had to get up on the stage. I never even went down to the altar that day. There were so many people. But I got saved that day in that place. And God radically transformed my life. Is that about me? No. This is why this is so close to my heart. Because there are people who are sitting in your community who are drunk in the bar. They're going to be drunk in the bar tonight. And they're going to be drunk in the bar tomorrow. There are people who are sitting in your community who are just like me, who Jesus is building his church with.
That's right.
And my heart is crying out in this place. When we go back, let's make sure we find those people and realize that Jesus is saying, I'll take them.
Amen.
And I'll build my church with them.
Amen.
All right.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. God bless.